Welcome, everyone, to the August 2nd Father, Son, and Holy Sport NFL show. I'm G-Man. Right there is T-Money from Cincinnati. What's up?
What's going on, G? Hey, finally August. We are officially a month away from football starting, preseason starting here shortly. So we're getting down to the nitty and gritty here before the season starts. It's exciting.
Yeah. It's fun to watch the training camps live. I'm watching all the training camps, checking out things. We're going to be live one of these years at the training camp when T-Money put some budget in the account for us to get out to the training camps. Man, they look fun. Everyone's getting going. The pads are on.
Yeah, it's full go now, and that's when injuries start to happen. So sure, we're going to get into some of those later. A lot of fantasy implications as well that we're going to start talking about now. But the exciting time, man. Football's back, and that's all that really matters.
That is right. T-Money mentioned we got a fantasy show this week for you. So we are going to bring that to you. On the second half of the show, we're going to start off with the Ross rundown. But before we do the rundown of the NFL, do us a favor, press that like and subscribe, baby. We appreciate your support. Hey, let's kick things off with the Cowboys. Everybody likes talking about the Cowboys. What's going to happen? T-Money, is this a make or break year for Dak?
Man, this is a tough question because, they're not going to cut him after this season. And, the Cowboys, they're always overhyped. Yeah. And so my concern is that Dak is going to have too high of expectations, but at the same time, the NFC is so weak that I do have high expectations, and this feels like a make or break year for me. So I don't know what to do about this, I am always stuck in a rock and a hard place with these Cowboys because they just always are overhyped. They always are assumed to be better than they are, and they let you down in the playoffs. Now, Dak Prescott is in an interesting spot. He doesn't have an extension. He only has 2 years left on his deal after this year. Or after this year, he has 1 year left. Sorry. So he's actually getting to be in an interesting spot here. I'm very interested in see how the Cowboys view him long term. But Jerry Jones, if you're a mediocre guy, everyone in the world thinks you're better because you're a Cowboy. You're going to get signed to a long-term deal again. So he's probably going to get a contract extension, even if they're 10-7 and they lose in the first round of the playoffs. So Dak Prescott, I don't think it's a make or break year. He'll get a contract. I think the Cowboys as a whole, if you're being realistic, this feels like a make or break year. NFC's wide open. Niners don't know who their quarterback are. Eagles are coming off a Super Bowl hangover. This feels like a year you could get to the NFC Championship game.
Well, they certainly have the defense to do it. That defense is going to carry them if they make it to the NFC Championship game. The offense is what's let down Dallas. So let's just put that in the category. The defense is there. All right, so what about this offense and Dak? Dak is falling off. Dak's falling off. If you look at his performance since 2019, when he was the second best quarterback in the league by some of his stats, now he's dropped off. He's in a third tier, T-Money. He's in my third tier. If I break into tiers, he's in that third tier behind Herbert, behind Burrow, behind Lamar Jackson. He has dropped down. He used to be in the top tier, and he's had injuries. His efficiency passing is down. He threw an NFL high 15 interceptions in 2022, and his yards per attempt, 7.3, was his lowest since 2017. So this guy is trending down. His running is down, T-Money. Remember when he first started, he had running ability.
Yeah.
He ran for 6 touchdowns in each of his first 3 seasons. Every year, 6 touchdowns. He's only had 8 in the last 4 years. So that running's not even there anymore for him. I don't know, man. I think he's dropping off here. He's 30 years old. The ages of the Final Four last year, Final Four playoff teams, ages of the quarterback, 23, 24, 26, 27. Dak's 30. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think he had his best years statistically 2 years ago. 37 touchdowns, 10 picks, just had a really solid season, threw for 4,400 yards. But then last year, I know he broke his hand or broke his leg or whatever, but like he took a step back, 23 passing touchdowns to 15 interceptions. That is horrible. It was one of his worst passer rating seasons, his second worst and his worst since 2017. I think this is a make or break season for Dak, just legacy wise. Like I said, I think Dak's going to get a contract extension. Yeah. I think the Cowboys are going to be always overhyped. But if I'm being realistic, this feels like one of those years. If you don't take advantage of this, when are you ever going to go to the big dance? When are you ever going to get a chance to compete for a Super Bowl? This is it. As I said, right now, I think the Lions have the fourth best odds in the NFC. Like, let's be realistic here. The Cowboys should be a real threat. And if they don't capitalize on this and they lose to someone like the Giants in the first round or the Seahawks in the first round, this is a major disappointment. So I don't think it's a make or break sense in the fact that he's going to get cut. He's going to get traded. He won't get a contract extension. I think all those things are going to happen. But legacy wise and for the Cowboys organization, it's a make or break year. Yes.
Yeah.
Let me switch over to one of Gary's favorite quarterbacks. And the darling of Justine Waterman, and that's Jimmy G. All right. And the one man in the NFL she'll leave me for. It's fine. I totally understand. With a jawline like that, who wouldn't?
You'd leave him for you.
I probably would. Seems like such a sweet man. But he's in a new location. He's in Las Vegas playing for the Raiders under coach Josh McDaniels, reunited after their long stint away from each other like they were in the Patriots. My real question with this is expectations here. Can Jimmy G get these Raiders back to the playoffs?
Well, Jimmy G has been a consistent, above-average performer. Okay, this guy is a solid performer, and I think he is a step up over Derek Carr. I don't think the issue with the Raiders is going to be Jimmy G. I think it's their defense. Their defense is what's letting them down. They were 6-11 last year. In order to make the playoffs, T-Money, they got to swap that. They got to go 11-6 or maybe 10-7. So can they turn 4 losses into 4 wins? I just don't see that happening. And it's not because of Jimmy. It's because of their defense. It ranked bottom 5 in the NFL last year. 5th worst in yards allowed per game. In the same ranking, points allowed per game. 5th worst in the NFL. Their offense was 12th. And I think Jimmy G will be in performing in that kind of range. I think Jimmy can do what Derek Carr did, maybe a little bit more. He's more efficient than Carr. If you look at his stats, his completion percentage is better than Carr. His yards per attempt is better than Carr. He's got a better career passer rating than Carr. So he's going to be a step up. But is he enough to overcome that defense, which I don't see that many changes over the last year? Can they pick it up there? What do you think?
Very interesting here. So the defense has always been bad. Let's just start with that. And Derek Carr had them in the playoffs 2 years ago. And then he got benched mid-season last year when Josh McDaniels came in and wanted to change everything up. So if he's a better quarterback than Derek Carr, he should be able to get him to the playoffs. Everyone talks about this guy as a winner, and this guy is that, and this guy is, a 70% win percentage, all-time great win percentage.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear these statistics anymore. If this guy can't get a solid team with an offense that should be humming to the playoffs. I'm not asking for Super Bowls and NFC championship games like he was when he was with the Niners. I'm even taking my expectations down because I don't trust the head coach. Sure. But getting to the playoffs for a guy everyone had to tell me was awesome. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Oh, this guy's so great. No. It cannot be that it's not the head coach when he wins in San Francisco, but it is the head coach when he loses at the Raiders. It can't be one or the other.
Yeah, Jimmy G has always had a great defense to support him. He's never really had to outscore anybody. I think that's his best scenario. And I think it's going to be tough, and it's going to be tough for the Chargers in this AFC West. I mean, how did the Raiders get to the playoffs in that AFC West? They're not going to beat the Chiefs and Chargers, so they got to go through the wild card. So to get through to the playoffs, that's going to be very difficult for this team. Their odds to make the playoffs per DraftKings plus 380. That means if you bet 100, you win 380. That's the fourth worst chance of any NFL team to make the playoffs, T-Money. Can you tell me the name of the other three teams behind the Raiders? The Raiders' fourth worst chance to make the playoffs. Who are the other three that have even a worse chance of making the playoffs?
Oh, man, you're really going to do this to me. Cardinals is obviously number
Cardinals
one.
is last. They're the last.
Let me go Texans.
Texans is the second to last. One more, T-Money, for the victory.
Man, jeez.
I'm surprised by this one.
The Bears?
I'm going by DraftKings. That's Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Well, hey, there you go, man.
Look, I understand
to make the playoffs.
And that's my other thing about this. I'm trying to be realistic in this fact that the AFC is freaking loaded. And Jimmy G was in the NFC, and there wasn't a lot of great teams in the NFC. There just isn't right now. So getting to the playoffs wasn't a problem, and they were so good on defense. And Kyle Shanahan's such a great coach that you win one or two games, and you're all of a sudden versus crappy teams, and you're in the NFC Championship game and Super Bowls. And so, look, I don't expect them to make the playoffs. I do think Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Jimmy G. Let's just start there, but because he was making the playoffs with a bad defense. I just am annoyed with the Jimmy G sycophants now coming out saying, oh, well, he doesn't have a good defense, or he's better than Derek Carr, and Josh McDaniels is the reason they suck. It's like, Carr was doing this with shitty head coaches. Carr has always had bad defenses. Let's see him win 8 games. 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, they won 8 games. Then they won 10, 6 last year, but Carr was benched. Jimmy. They're not getting to the playoffs.
Come on, Jimmy. Do it, man. Show T-Money, Jimmy. I'm with you, Jimmy.
Have fun winning 4 games.
Hey, Jimmy G. Hey, they got Devontae Adams. They hopefully will wrap up Josh Jacobs. They added Jacoby Myers from the Patriots, so got him a little more of a weapon there. The Raiders at the Broncos. 5 weeks from Sunday, first game, T-Money. Raiders at the Broncos. Broncos favored by 4. Do you believe that? Come on, Jimmy G. Hey, let's go to the next topic here. T-Money going to Cincinnati Bengals team. Joey B goes down with the calf injury. T-Money, how worried are you about this injury?
I'm not worried. Joe Burrow's not a runner.
Good.
Joe Burrow's not a runner. It's just it's a pull. It's a muscle pull. I'm not like, what are we talking about here? I get that everyone starts freaking out because these are professional athletes. They're worried about their fantasy football teams, like my main man G here, worried about his dynasty quarterback.
But I strained my calf at my duathlon last weekend, but I'm still back.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm pretty sure I've strained my calf in the middle of a basketball game and kept playing. Like, they're just being precautionary. I get they don't want it to linger, and but let's be honest. Joe Burrow is probably one of the last few pure pocket passers in the NFL. All these other guys have the tools and skills and athleticism to move outside the pocket, make runs, go down, push the ball down the field with their legs. Joe Burrow doesn't do that. I'm not concerned about a calf injury. Now, I believe the leg he was holding, was it the leg he pushes off of? That would suck a little bit more, and it might take a little bit longer, but Joe Burrow's a talented guy. He knows this offense in and out. I'm not concerned long-term. I don't want him to rush him back. Like, take your time. Like, there's no reason to rush here. But I truly have zero concern. Like, there's no worries for me. I don't see it as a major deal.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. It is the one he pushes off on. I think it's his right one.
Okay.
No Achilles issue, so that's cool. It is the strain, you can re-aggravate it. So I think just take your time, man. Get him back, and let's get going by that first game. Like I said, 5 weeks from Sunday, the first game start.
Plenty of time.
This is fine.
I mean, these guys are professional athletes with world-class doctors and care. If you can't get a calf strain back healthy in 5 weeks. What the hell are we doing here? Like I can put a bag of ice on my calf and I'll go for a run the next day. Like let's pump the brakes here on like this being a world-ending industry. Yes, I know this is concerning because you don't want to tear an Achilles. This guy is not playing basketball. He's the least movement on the football field. He is gonna be fine.
Bottom line, all you fantasy people, go and draft Burrow.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Hey,
what do you got?
I want to move on to another QB. G-Man's got us moving today. Okay, he's got us on time.
We got fantasy today. We got to keep our fantasy show intact here.
All right. Well, let's move over to the Jets and Aaron Rodgers and these boys. All right. Are the Jets being overrated this year, Gary?
Oh my gosh, that's all they're talking about. Man, it's the Jets. They're going crazy. The media is just going nuts about them. You know, they're even money to make the playoffs. They're even money. They're ranked 11th in the NFL, 6th in the AFC. You know, that ranking gets them in the playoffs. You know, that's Vegas, you know, so it's not just the hype. It's also Vegas has them in the playoffs. Now, last year, they're 7-10. Can they flip it to 10-7? They didn't make the playoffs. The over-under at BetMGM is 9.5. They're right on the bubble, man. They're right on the bubble. They got the defense. They got the defense to do this with your buddy Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams. They got the defense. They were number 4 in the league in points and yards allowed last year. This is going to be another tough defense. You fantasy people out there, hey, man, go after that Jets defense. They're going to carry this team a lot of the season. Now, can your buddy Aaron Rodgers do the job, T-Money? Will he improve it? Because he was pretty bad. He was pretty bad, man. That's really going to be the key. Are they overrated? Is Aaron Rodgers overrated? I mean, they're talking to him like he's the, MVP of the league already. Is he going to come back and play better than he did? Because if he plays like he was playing the last couple of years, it's not good.
Yeah, this is just getting way out of hand. And they're so overrated right now. I don't even know if they're a top 3 team in their own division. Like, we got to pump the brakes on these guys a little bit. They won 7 games last year. 5 of them were versus backup or third string QBs. So I know they had a QB problem, but they were playing some pretty shitty QBs too. So let's just hamper our expectations, especially with this defense. Sauce Gardner, out of this world. But defenses fluctuate year to year. They move around a lot. Are we sure Robert Saleh is a great coach? I'm not sure yet. My real concerns on offense.
Going after the coach. Okay.
My real concerns on offense is everyone's talking about Garrett Wilson this, Garrett Wilson that. Let's just run through the rest of their receivers. Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb, all right, and McCole Hardman. These guys aren't world beaters. So through the AFC, Buffalo, rather have Diggs. Miami, Waddle and Tyreek Hill. You got the Jags with Ridley and Kirk. Tennessee's got D-Hop. Baltimore's got Odell and Zay Flowers. Cincinnati clearly with Chase and Higgins. Cleveland's got Cooper. The Steelers got Deontay Johnson. The Broncos have Jared Judy. Kansas City has Travis Kelce. The Raiders have Devontae Adams. Chargers have Keenan Allen and the Williams and now Quentin. I'm just saying.
Don't forget Corey Davis. Corey Davis is in there too.
Whatever. He's not moving the needle for me here. All right. Corey Davis sounds like an accountant. I met.
Corey Davis fan. I know
he sounds like an accountant that I met the other day. Okay, Corey Davis. What are we talking about here? I don't want to hear. We don't need to bring up Corey Davis's name on this podcast again. All right,
Tyler Conklin at tight end. Don't forget him.
Oh man, how did I forget? So my biggest point is everyone is talking about Garrett Wilson, and I love him. I think he's a great receiver. I think he has a huge potential. He only had like 1,100 yards last year, maybe not even that. But all those guys I just named are better pass catchers in the NFL. So the AFC is stacked with awesome pass catchers. Their top running back is coming off an ACL tear, and they might have one of the worst offensive lines in the AFC. Let's just hamper our expectations a little bit. They make the playoffs. This is awesome.
Yeah.
They're talking about Super Bowls. Let's slow down.
Yeah, I thought you asked me the question, but you got a great answer there. I like all your I like your passion today, man. I like your passion
Thank
today. But
you.
does this 40-year-old Rodgers, because most quarterbacks outside of Brady, they pretty much go downhill at 40. Is this 40-year-old Rodgers going to be able to do it? Because if he doesn't, it's going to be like it was last year for the Jets, and they're going to be on the bubble, probably not going to make the playoffs. The other question is Brees Hall coming back from this big injury. I think they're worried about Brees Hall, T-Money. They went after Jamal Williams, didn't get him. They wanted to get Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft. They didn't get him. They're talking to Dalvin Cook now. I think they're worried about Brees Hall. And if Brees Hall's not back, that's another big hit to them unless they pull in Dalvin Cook.
I agree. I mean, my biggest thing here is the Jets could have a great season. They could win 10 games and not make the playoffs. That's how good the AFC is. We just got to hamper our expectations here a little bit, guys. Like talking Super Bowl in the AFC, Buffalo didn't even make this, like the second round last year, or the Chargers didn't even make the second round last year. I'm talking about the Jags moving up this year. Like the Ravens had a down year without Lamar. I mean, there's so many talented teams in here that we're jumping over because of the hype train that is New York. So it's just hamper expectations.
I think we're saying the same thing. Can they get to that 10-7? You know, that would be on the bubble. I agree with you. And so that's 10-7, right? Think about that. That's 7 losses. That's all they can have. Here's their first 6 games. You ready for this?
Horrible.
Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, Chiefs, Broncos, Eagles. They could have 5 losses right there.
Yep.
And they only can lose 7.
Yeah.
They only can lose 17 money.
And 7 still might not get you in.
7 might not get them in, but then they got a bye week on week 7. They could go into that bye week at week 7. They could be 1-5. You know,
yeah, it's crazy.
2-4. So they're going to be in trouble just coming out of the gates here. But come on, Jets, show us, man. Show us, and I believe in your defense, Jets. T-Money not behind you. I'm behind you, Jets defense. Come on, Jets, Jets, baby. Hey, let's go on to the Chargers, another AFC team. Herbert and the Chargers signed the big deal, man. They lock him in. Unlike what you Colts are doing with my man behind me. You should be locking in JT, man. JT can change your season, Colts. Come on, man. I'm wearing your blue, but you're not locking him in. The Chargers locked in Herbert, T-Money. Was that a good move?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, there was a lot of question marks coming from guys like Kyler and Wentz and Goff, who Goff turned around his contract.
4th-tier quarterbacks.
Well, I'm talking about guys that have gotten a contract after their 3rd season, right? That's what we're really talking about here. Guys that have gotten their contract after their 3rd season. It's not that many guys. And on top of that, they haven't done anything in the playoffs. Now he has made the playoffs. And that's a solid start. He was great his rookie season. Last year was his worst year. Now he broke his ribs and all of his pass catchers were hurt. I think he's going to have a big year now with Kellen Moore at OC. He's got some weapons around him. I like this team a lot. The defense gets healthy. I think the Chargers are a real contender. I like Justin Herbert a lot. He's got everything you want in a quarterback. So
you were big on him last year, man. What changed? You were big on the Chargers last year.
I just told you their defense got hurt. Their acquisition, who was their quarterback that they got from the Patriots, he got hurt immediately. All their receivers are hurt. He broke his ribs. They have a bad head coach, but Kellen Moore is going to help solve that offense at least. I think that they just got unfortunate last year, which seems to happen every year to the Chargers for some reason. But this team's legit, and Justin Herbert's legit. And I think that was a smart contract. And look, at the end of the day, it's what you have to do when a guy performs in the NFL. He's made the playoffs in his first 3 years. He's a good quarterback. I'm excited for his potential. I think he's already top 10, top 5 potentially already. And so I think he's right there.
But Herbert's only got the team to the playoffs once in 3 seasons.
But are you
So,
expecting rookies to come in and get to the playoffs? Are you expecting
yes,
rookies?
actually, yes, yes. I expect those rookies to come in
Okay.
and play now. That's the new NFL, man. That's the new
He
NFL.
set the rookie record for touchdowns.
I know he has the yardage. I'm saying you got to do it in the playoffs, man. They got to do it in the playoffs. And they got bounced out of the playoffs by the Jags in that ridiculous comeback. Remember that thing?
I agree with you.
That's a bad taste in their mouth, man.
I put a lot of this on Brandon Staley.
He led the Chargers to 10 wins, and they got to the playoffs. Okay, let's build off of that. I'll give you that. But these guys do not have a history of success, man. They let down their fans all the time.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Pick it up, man. Kellen Moore. All right. Okay. Kellen Moore should help. I agree with you on that.
The stat I always think about is I think Justin Herbert scored like 1,553 points in his tenure as a Charger. And I think the Chargers have allowed 1,554 points or something like that. Like their defense hasn't lived up to the calling. That's my concern here. And Brandon Staley's supposed to be a defensive coach. This guy has not lived up to the calling. That's where I think they've fallen short is their defense.
Well, the story of Herbert in the NFL is he's been behind Mahomes. Mahomes just dominating this AFC.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
And Herbert's in that AFC West. He happens to end up in the same. Now they got to make it through the wild card into the playoffs. They're going to be in the bubble again, T-Money, this year on that playoff bubble, I think. And I really question Staley as the coach winning those close, high-pressure games. He does not make great decisions. And I think if they end up in the bubble and they have to win late, man, is he going to be able to pull them through with his coaching?
I don't think so. Like I said, I don't like Brandon Staley. I used to be a fan. Last year proved me wrong. He's just not performed on his end of the bargain as a defensive guy. And so I think Kellen Moore is probably going to be the coach at the beginning of next season.
Hey, Mahomes, 80%. There's a little stat for you on Mahomes versus Herbert. Mahomes win percentage in all games, 80%. Herbert's win percentage, 51%.
Dad, you're comparing someone to a potential GOAT. Like let's compare Herbert to his other.
Both in the AFC West. They're both trying to win the AFC West.
I know. Let's not compare. You're asking to compare, like some random guy to Tom Brady here. Like let's slow down a little bit on comparing people to Mahomes.
Isn't that what we want Herbert to become? Okay.
He's not going to be an all-time great. He's not going to be.
All right.
He's not going to be.
Hey, well, I think we've agreed on most of these topics. Yeah. So good discussion, man. I want to move over to and shift gears to fantasy. Can we shift to fantasy, T-Money? Talk about help these fantasy managers. All y'all are trying to get ready for your drafts. We're going to get you ready for the drafts. And, man, we're excited to talk fantasy this week. Let's first move. We're going to talk about some of the injuries and the impacts. T-Money's going to give us his perspective on the impacts or fantasy on these teams. Then we're going to do a little preseason take or mistake. I'm going to throw some names at T-Money that he doesn't even know who I'm picking. He's going to tell you whether you should draft that person or not. Okay, let's start off with our injury impacts for fantasy. Looking at that Seattle backfield first, T-Money. That Seattle backfield, they like to run the ball. Walker's now got a groin injury. He's week to week. He should be back. Charbonnet, I'm told it's pronounced Charbonnet, the rookie.
Charbonnet.
Well, I've been told Charbonnet. I thought I was saying Charbonnet and I got corrected, but serious shoulder injury, but not sure what it is. We hear serious shoulder. So that now leaves in the third spot to the rookie, Kenny McIntosh. What do you think of that backfield, T-Money? Would you draft any of those players?
Look, I was already kind of skeptical about this. They've got 2 second-round running backs 2 years in a row, so they clearly value both of these guys highly. They have the draft capital to where they both should be getting touches. I was really, really excited for Charbonnet coming out of college. He was one of my favorite under-the-radar college guys. Looking forward to him getting into a solid landing spot, and he ends up behind a guy like Kenneth Walker, who could have been Rookie of the Year last year. So I was always kind of skeptical about this backfield to begin with because they're not going to not give Charbonnet the ball. And so I thought Kenneth Walker's price might be too high already. I don't know. I think you're going to have to wait this one out week to week, whenever your draft is, to get a sense of which guy's injury is worse and could affect them long term throughout the season. Groin scares me. Groin scares me. That is easily rupturable, and you can re-injure that easily. That's just small tweaks and cuts. The shoulder, that thing can kind of heal. It can take some battered and bruising, and you can fight through that. The groin scares me. So I was always leaning towards Charbonnet if you had to pick gun to my head, but I would never touch the third string guy. That's a waiver wire guy.
Okay, you're not drafting any of these guys then in the fantasy draft. And whatever you do, everybody, do not draft DJ Dallas, okay? All right, let's move on to let's move on to Indianapolis. The Colts here, baby. JT not coming to practice, Steve Money. Zach Moss just fractures his arm, the backup for JT. Deion Jackson sitting there. Zach Moss is out probably till the first game starts with this arm. Deion Jackson's there. People have jumped on Deion Jackson last year, and he did one game. He had a big game, and after that, he was a flop. So what do you think, T-Money? You're going to bet on this in the draft on the Indianapolis backfield behind JT. Anybody there?
No. Draft Jonathan Taylor. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay, let's move on to the Denver receiving core. Denver receiving core, we got Tim Patrick going down again. I really feel for the man. Last year was his ACL. Now he has Achilles. He's out for the season again. Hamler was also waived with a heart condition. Hamler's out. He played in only 7 games last year, so we got both of those guys out. What's your thoughts, T-Money, on the Denver receiving core?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think Cortland Sutton's a really, really good guy. Receiver. I think Jerry Jeudy's got the talent, but has not been in the right system. I would lean Jerry Jeudy here. I like him, but I'm just concerned about Russell Wilson. So personally, if this guy falls to me, let's say he falls 10 spots below what he's projected, I'll take a swing at the guy for sure. If I can get someone like DeAndre Hopkins or Terry McLaurin around that same area, I'll take them over Jerry Jeudy. But if I wait another round and he falls to me, for sure, I would take him. But I wouldn't. Cortland Sutton, I'm not sure. There's just too much variable in Russell Wilson right now to trust either of these guys unless they fall to you in drafts.
Just lack confidence in that Denver passing game overall, it sounds like.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over to Philadelphia. I want to talk about the running back battle and the fantasy draft. Are you looking at this, T-Money, with the Eagles? We got DeAndre Swift versus Rashad Penny versus Kenneth Gainwell. What do you think about the three of them and where they sit in your fantasy draft scenarios?
Man, this is a really, really weird one. Everyone just expects DeAndre Swift to be the RB1 here. But the word out of the Eagles is that it's Penny getting the first team reps, but that means Swift's probably getting the pass catching. If you're in a PPR league, that matters. He'll be the third down back. I'm not really interested in this. Now, Miles Sanders had a really good year last year in this, but he was the sole guy. It looks like they're going into a way bigger split backfield this year. Rashad Penny, though, does get hurt a lot. So I'm open to reaching for Swift a little more than I am Penny, just because Swift's proven through the years that he can be a really high-end running back. Even though Detroit got rid of him, they drafted Gibbs. But Penny mainly just needs to bang it out, get a bunch of carries, goal line touches kind of thing. He's talented, but Swift, I think, is the higher ceiling.
Over the past 3 seasons, Swift is only one of 5 players, T-Money, with more than 1,500 rushing yards and 150 receptions. He's got the combination to pull this thing up. But if word is near the goal line, they might split it up. And then you've got also, T-Money, Jalen Hurts, who could run it himself.
Exactly.
So he could steal some of the thunder there. All right, T-Money, that's some of the injuries and the running back battles. Want to move you over, T-Money, to take or mistake. Yeah, I know you love this game, T-Money. You don't know what guys I'm picking. I'm going to throw them at you here on take or mistake. First, we're going to start off with a quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers Still makes the throws. He's experienced, but his stats have been slipping, T-Money. He threw only 26 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions. Most he's thrown in a season since 2008. He finished as QB 13 in fantasy. Okay, but he was QB 21 in points per game among quarterbacks who played 10 games. So is it possible the change of venue, T-Money, will rekindle Rodgers' statistics? T-Money, is Aaron Rodgers a take as a top 10 fantasy quarterback for you this season in the draft, or would that be a mistake?
Well, I don't like to speak in top 10s. I like to speak in top 12s, right? Because those are QB1s.
Okay, is he top 12?
But he is not. I think that he is on the borderline. And if guys get hurt, he can right there. I think there'll be weeks where he has a QB5, and there'll be plenty of weeks where he's QB20. So I think he's going to average about QB 15 to 17. I would rather have guys like Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones, like just because Kirk Cousins has better weapons, Daniel Jones has running ability. And there's just higher ceilings with guys like Tua, and Dak Prescott. So
T-Money, not sold on those Jets, man. You're not sold on those Jets. I'll show.
Prove it to me.
Hey, let's go to the running back idea here. I know you'll love this one. Let's go to Najee Harris in Pittsburgh. Took a slight step back last year, T-Money. Was RB 14 in points per game after a top 5 fantasy season as a rookie. He improved drastically after the team's bye week, though. He operated as an RB7 in points per game over the last 9 weeks. Is it possible Kenny Pickett and Najee will step up that Steeler offense, T-Money, and the performance improves? T-Money, is Najee a take to be a top 12 fantasy running back this season, or would that be a mistake?
That's a take all day. I think he's in for a big year again. I think he had a plate in his foot for the first part of the season, and then you recover from just all that offseason injury. I think they've drafted offensive linemen. I think he's in the scheme now. Kenny Pickett's in another year, maybe getting better at dumping down to him. I think he's being a little undervalued this year in drafts.
All right, T-Money. All right, Najee. I think that Pittsburgh offense is going to be better, and I would not be surprised if Najee's top 12. Okay, let's go. Last one for you, T-Money. Then we're going to wrap up the show, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the new fantasy segment here. Hey, let's go to wide receiver. Got one for you, T-Money. Cleveland Browns, Amari Cooper finally turned into the high-volume receiver we wanted after he finished wide receiver 17. Cooper amassed 26% of the targets, 38% of the air yards, and he played better last year. He was 12th in red zone and deep targets too, 12th. So that's good. And Deshaun Watson has that gun. So, hey, he's going to be 29, T-Money. Will his production fall off? Will it get better? Is Amari Cooper a top 12 fantasy wide receiver this season, T-Money? Would you draft him there, or would that be a mistake?
I definitely think he has the potential to be. I don't know if I would reach over guys like Keenan Allen, T. Higgins. I even like Calvin Ridley's ceiling higher than Amari Cooper's, and they're being drafted around the same place. I think Cooper has a chance if he has an all-time year. I just think he's more likely to end up right where he's drafted, and what he did last year, wide receiver 17, 18. That sounds about right, and because mainly that is a Nick Chubb offense more than it's a Deshaun Watson offense. And that's why. That's a run-centric offense. So that's why I lean that way. They added a couple weapons around him with Elijah Moore, and Donovan Peoples-Jones had a really, really good second half of the season with the Deshaun Watson too. So I just think it's a gamble to assume that he's going to be higher than his ADP.
Okay, T-Money. Well, hey, there's some great tips for you fantasy managers as you work your way to the drafts. We hope you enjoyed the show. We got the rundown. We had the fantasy, and we hope you had a great time with us. We love having you, man. Hey, make sure you check out our website, FatherSonAndHolySport.com. You can buy merchandise, baby, like this right here. And, hey, you can learn all about where we're at, what we're doing. Check us out. Hey, and look for all of our shows, our clips. We'll be out there, man. We're going to start picking up the pace, T-Money. On behalf of T, I'm G. Have a great week.
All right. Peace.